Hello, new DCAC members. This is Jake with our presentation that we gave at our first DCAC meeting of the year. I thought I would provide it to you so you could have an update on just kind of what we talked about at our first meeting, and so that you'd have a base for coming into your first meeting. So first off, just want to say welcome to the DCAC. This was our agenda for that evening. We did a check-in activity, which we typically do in our DCAC meetings, and then we talked about, we'll talk through in this video, just our roles and expectations, some of our norms of collaboration. We talked a little bit about what our demographics in Roseville area schools are, and then we looked at a guiding document that we provide for our curriculum is our Educational Equity Curriculum Instruction Compass. We watched a video called Can Art Amend History? And I'll ask you to watch that video on your own. It's a link in this video, but I will actually send you a separate one as well. And then looking at our DCAC decision-making process, our curriculum review process, and then some acronyms that we use, which we're actually going to do at our second meeting of the year. So if you missed that, that's okay. The first thing that I want you to do is think about creating a name tent. We did this at our first meeting kind of for our check-in. So have a draft ready of what you would write on your name tent. We'll give you a new one coming into this meeting. You can kind of work on it through the meeting. But in the middle, put your name and your preferred pronouns. In that top left-hand corner, put your favorite season. In the top right-hand corner, favorite quote, slogan, or saying. Bottom left, who is in your family? And then the bottom right, how did you get your name? And we'll use these throughout the year to have as your name, and then also just as reminders of who you are and what's important to you. So we do have a district mission and vision. This slide talks about what our mission and vision is. Now this is from our strategic plan that was developed in 2016. We're in the process this fall of 2022, going through making changes to our strategic plan. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. If you'd like to, you can certainly go into the link that's in here where it says Quality Teaching and Learning for All, Equity in All We Do, and it will give you the whole mission and vision and kind of our 5 strategic areas that are identified here as well. Again, those will be changing this fall, so I didn't want to spend a ton of time on it, but just to make you aware of it. So our next question is, who's on the DCAC? We have multiple committee members, including representatives from each of our schools. We try to have at least one, and sometimes up to 2 or 3, depending on the size of the school. We also have community members that are representatives within our team, as well as students from Roseville Area High School, and also some district staff members. So where do you find meeting information? I will send out agendas every week prior to our meeting, and I try to get those out at least a week prior. Sometimes I'm running a little bit late, so I apologize in advance for doing that, but typically they come out about a week prior, and I'll email them out to the group. Within there, there'll be reports and agenda items, and some will be included in links that you can link to. All of the information that we have for this year will be kept in the folder at the bottom in the link here. That's the bit.ly link, so we just do bit.ly and then the / DCAC 2022-23, and that will bring you to a meeting folder, or actually a folder that houses all of that information that would give you each of our handouts for every one of our meetings. And that will also appear on each of our agendas that I email out. So it's an easy and quick way to get all of that information. So you might be asking, what do you do on the DCAC? Well, there's multiple things. You serve as an advisory committee to the school board and to our district administration. We get to review reports that we provide to the board to keep you informed. And that is in a flipped meeting format, which means I will send that information out to you so that you can review that information prior to coming to the meeting, and then come to the meeting knowing questions that you might have and discussions that you'd like to bring. That helps us to save some time in our meetings. We used to do it in a way that groups or myself would bring reports and report that to the group, but that takes up a lot of time, and the best time, I guess, is used by hearing from our members, and so that's why we do the flip format, so we can get more discussion in without having to just listen to reports at the meeting. We hear reports from curriculum committees as well, some of our school board metric reports, and then we also provide input to our curriculum review teams. So curriculum review teams will come to us and they'll provide information. Again, we try to do that in a flip format, and we try to provide feedback on what they're looking at in terms of their curriculum and ideas. We also serve to our buildings. We can be a liaison to our building principal that inform them of information that we are getting at DCAC, or if you serve on the PTA or PTO, you can also bring that information to that group. We do hope folks will serve a 3-year commitment. We completely understand if you can only serve 1 year or 2 years. It's we know you have busy schedules and many commitments that you have, so whatever time you can give us is great. It is great to have a 3-year commitment only because it's nice to see how some of those curriculum committees continue their work, and to have some longer progression of some of our members so that we're not turning over every year. You can see in our DCAC handout, I sent that to most of you, but again, this is just the handout that explains what we do on our committee. You've seen this hopefully before. If you'd like to click into that on your own, you can do that as well. So you might be asking yourself, what is our role in decision making? We get to provide input and recommendations to the school board and our administration. We aren't the decision makers, but we get to provide a lot of influence to our decision makers. So if you envision this as a decision making process, you can see we have stakeholder voice like input teams over here, and we have options or design teams over here. And what we try to do is create that shared understanding. This stakeholder voice is influencing that design team, and the design team sharing back to our stakeholders to hear what how we're moving along. And that's really a big part of our curriculum review process. So we would say that our DCAC is our input team, our stakeholder voice, and then our curriculum review teams that come and create options for curriculum. There are design teams that come, and we try to get shared understanding between those teams. Ultimately, our school board and district administration have to make the ultimate choice of what that design team brings, but again, that's including that stakeholder voice. And then, the last part of that, once we make that choice, we implement that curriculum, and our staff works on that. And then we also, as our district curriculum review teams and our district administration, hear about what is it that's going well, what needs to be changed. We work on that continuous improvement cycle in the bottom here too. Some examples of what this is in the past, what that means to have input and recommendations. Obviously, our curriculum review reports that come with our curriculum review teams. We have also courses that come in from Roseville Area Middle School and Roseville Area High School, and we talk about those courses and whether they're new courses or they might be a course that needs to be removed. We have a process for that, and we provide input and recommendations to the school board on those. We did provide, as we went through in 2016, 2017, input to our facilities referendum. So we got to be an input group to that process. We also will provide some input and recommendations to our strategic planning that's coming up. And we provide different ways to consider or to view our district in looking at some of the data reports. We are going to be looking at our achievement report at this upcoming meeting and looking at important ways to think about the different data that we're sharing and what data might be missing, or what just a different way to look at that data. We also ask for a lot of feedback on grant applications if we are working on a larger grant to get some feedback, some of our Title I services that we provide, and then just other initiatives that we have in the district that might be important to get some stakeholder feedback. We also have norms of collaboration. They help us to set parameters and ground rules. They allow us for focus and reflection, and they also provide direction for our engagement. So looking at our norms of collaboration, we have multiple ones. The first one is that we start meetings on time and that we end on time, that we set a clear and reasonable agenda, that we focus on our equity vision for our Roseville area schools. And our equity vision states this: Roseville area schools is committed to ensuring an equitable and respectful learning environment for every student, family, and staff member, regardless of race, gender identity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, ability, home or first language, religion, national origin, age, or physical appearance. We also have our a few more, whether to be that we stay engaged during our meetings, that we experience discomfort, that we speak our truth, that we expect and accept a lack of closure, and that we pay attention to self and others. We check in on our norms of collaboration on every meeting, so you'll get to know these quite well. We did discuss this at our last meeting. This was another way that we had a chance to connect with one another, so you can see some of the partner activity that we did to discuss our norms. The next part is who our students are. So we have in K through 12, we have about 7,423 students to start our year. We also have pre-K and ECSE programs. We have about 339 students in those programs right now. At our district schools, we have pre-K sites at Mbetu Techa Education Center, which is where we meet, at Parkview Center School, as well as Harambe. Our elementary schools include Brimhall, Central Park, Edgerton, Falcon Heights, Harambe, which provides a year-round option, Little Canada, which provides a neighborhood option and a dual language immersion Spanish option, and then Parkview Center School, which offers a kindergarten through 8th grade option, and then Emmett D. Williams. We have our middle level programs, which include RAMS and our Parkview, 7th through 8th grade. And at the high school level, we offer ROS, Roseville Area High School, and FAS, Fairview Alternative High School. So this is our students by race and ethnicity. And I did pull multiple times, kind of aligned with when the census usually comes out. This is looking at Minnesota in red, so that's the statewide average, to Roseville, which is in blue. So you can see in the year 2000, which is typically a census year, 2010, 2020, and then our current school year, just last school year, 21-22. And you can see the change that we have from that 2000, kind of around the turn of the century. We were much more comparable to the state, and now we are much different from the state. So it's great to see. This is looking at our percent of students who receive educational benefits, and educational benefits refer to any student that their family meets or is below a certain threshold for income, and they receive educational benefits for free or reduced price lunch, meals, whether they have activities and athletics, a reduced price or free, transportation as well. There's a lot of different benefits that students would receive from that. So you can see how we've changed in terms of how we compare to the state. And even this year, as we look in our 22-23 school year, you're going to see a big change in the amount of students who receive educational benefits go much higher than it is on this, where it says 37%. In 21-22, we're probably going to be at around 49%. The last few years during COVID, every student received free meals, and we had less folks that filled out some of the paperwork. And so we do find that we have a lot more students this year who are receiving educational benefits. This is a look at our students who are English learners. You can see a big change again from that turn of the century to that 21-22 school year. About 3 times as many students who are learning English as a second, third, fourth, fifth language, whatever. So just a big change. And the state has doubled, but has not kept up with the amount of students in Roseville area schools. And this is our last one. This is looking at students who have an IEP, or individual education plan. These are students that qualify for special education services. You've seen that both the state and the district have gone up over time in that percent. We're still about 2% below the state than we were in that kind of that turn of the century as well. Oh, this was an activity that we did at our last meeting just to do some connection and community building. We'll try and fit those in during our meetings throughout the school year so that we can continue to build community within our group. This is a look at our educational equity curriculum and instruction compass. There's 4 different areas on the compass that are important that we think about as we look at our equity work in terms of our curriculum and instruction. So in this top left corner, it talks about equity pedagogy, and that's the instruction, the way you teach, the way that our teachers teach in their classrooms. That's about their teaching practices. This is in this top right corner, culturally relevant content. That refers to what we're teaching, what our curriculum looks like. Does it provide windows to see into other cultures, other races, other differences that might be different from your own? Or do they provide mirrors? Does it provide an example, representation? Because we know representation matters. So the mirrors is looking at yourself. Does the curriculum represent you as well? In this bottom corner, collective knowledge creation is really like learning from our students and families about how they want to learn, what they want to learn about, and making that partnership. So really trying to build that authentic partnership and bringing in that collective thought and collective voice on what we're teaching and how we're learning. And the last part is that social justice orientation. How are we taking action to make change? How are we seeing and creating justice in areas of injustice and human rights? This is a video that we watched during our session. I'd love you to watch it and think about the message, and I'll send you that link as well. And then I want you to think about, I'm going to skip that. I want you to think about these questions. What themes do you connect with in the video? What themes challenge you? And what connections can be made between this video and our district curriculum? And we just gave folks a time to write about that, just a quick write for 2 minutes, and then they share it out with some small groups. So you can just be thinking about that. You don't need to do the quick write, but if you would like to, you certainly could. We do have to make decisions on DCAC for our recommendations, whether we agree on that or not. So how we do that is we use Robert's Rules of Order. It's very simplified. When we have a proposal or a recommendation that we need to approve or consider, we have a person makes a motion, and then another member makes a second to that motion, and then we allow for some discussion. And then after this discussion, we vote by saying aye or nay. So we did practice our voting process, and we talked about the election of members for our materials review committee. We had some folks that were willing to do that for our families and as well as students. I am still looking for a co-chair for our DCAC committee. That helps me just to plan out and think about the agendas ahead of time, and it's a helpful I guess feedback for me as I'm making our committee meeting agendas and our processes. So what curriculum processes are important to know about? We have our curriculum review system, and that's one of the most important processes to know about. In this look here, I'm going to make this a little bit larger. And this is our curriculum review process. Oops, that's a little bit too large. Can't quite get it all in there. So this is our curriculum review process. And this left side is our program review cycle. Those are what we would call like our high phases. On this right side is our implementation and continuous improvement cycle. Those are our lower phases. So these programs that are in that 1, 2, and 3, they are actively working on their curriculum and changing their curriculum, deciding what needs to be updated, what needs to be kept, what needs to change. In this first part, program evaluation, groups are looking at what is it that they're getting in terms of their student achievement. What are the courses that they currently offer? What are the instructional methods that they use? And they just do an evaluation of their program. Currently in that area, we have our family and consumer sciences and our 712 social studies. Looking at our program design, that's where after we do that evaluation process, we look at what do we want? We do a little bit of dreaming and we think about what do we want this process to look like? What do we want our curriculum to look like? What should we change in terms of our instructional strategies? And so we get to design what the program, what we would like that to look like. And in those areas for this year is our 712 World Language team, our K6 Health team, and our K12 SEL team. And in this third process is implementation, planning, and purchasing. So once we decide what our program is going to look like, in program design, we get to talk about what we can purchase to make sure that our materials or equipment, that is going to match what that design is. And then we plan out for what is that implementation going to look like. And those areas are our K6 Language Arts group and our K12 Visual Art group. These are our lower phases. These are focused on we've made those design changes and we've made some purchases, and now we're going to install what's going to happen there. And these are early implementation, full implementation, and sustainable. You can see the groups that were within those. You'll also notice that there is a date, or I guess a year listed after each of the programs that are coming through. That's the last date or year that curriculum or a change was purchased or made for that group. So you can see that's how we document when these groups came through the last time. We also have a new course proposal or removal process. Typically, that's for our secondary schools, and teams look at which new courses that they could bring or what they would like to offer or remove, and they get feedback from that from our district curriculum advisory committee. We get to make recommendations to our school board for both of those processes, and that's an important piece that the board really considers. So what might be coming this year? Our 712 Family and Consumer Science, our 712 Social Studies, K6 English Language Arts will be coming next month in November, 712 World Language, K12 Visual Art, K6 Health, and then there might be some new courses and proposals coming later on this winter. And we'll also be bringing our district metric reports, the first one being our achievement report. You can see the list of the other reports that we'll be bringing throughout the year as well. We have a lot of vocabulary or a lot of acronyms, and so I do have a vocab and acronyms cheat sheet. We were going to do this at our last meeting. We didn't get a chance to do it, so we do have it at our upcoming meeting. So you'll see some more information about this at our upcoming October meeting. I just want to say thank you for serving in Roseville Area Schools and being a part of our District Curriculum Advisory Committee. We really do value our committee members and their voices. We really appreciate the service that you provide. We know that it can be a time commitment, but we appreciate you providing that input for our students. So I want to say thanks again, and thank you for listening. Let me know if you have any questions or thoughts as we move forward.